Ladies and gentlemen, it is another 8 o'clock spot here on the grid. And today we've got a special versus edition of the 8 o'clock spot. Let's introduce our contestants here on the Grid Network. First off, the all-time leading scorer and Mr. 8 o'clock spot himself, Mr. Arthur Hurst.
What's going on? How we doing?
Good, glad to have you. And then back by unpopular demand, ladies and gentlemen, the man who created this show and says there will be no show if he pulls the plug, Mr. Barry Grant Jr. Conspicuous by its absence is the sunglasses indoors.
You know what's crazy about what you said about Arthur's introduction? It's such a fallacy, but I'll allow it to keep going. You said all-time leading, which means that no matter what happened last season doesn't matter. So he's all-time, not season 2 points leader, all-time. So that means that you're actually fudging the numbers when people they can date back and see exactly what happened. You know, there's an archive for the show, which means that you can go all the way back to season 1 and see all the scoring that actually happened in season 1. So if you want to go ahead and try to, change the course of history, you can, but then people will call you a liar.
Since I've been hosting this show, he's the all-time points leader. Okay.
Oh, so now that there's context, got it, because context matters in the sports world. But continue. This is your show.
Yeah, you better be careful. You got to work your way to a loss tonight.
But listen, I'm just here just so the show doesn't get canceled. That's all. Continue, sir.
As you know, the number one game show here. Here are the rules. So we're going to have several rounds. Best take 5 points. Because we only have 2, we're only doing 5s and 1s. So no, there will be 5s and 3s. There is no third best take since we only have 2 contestants. So 5 points the best take, second best take 3 points. All right. And the all-time leaderboard, which Arthur Hurst leading this season by a whopping margin, 318 points to runner-up Paris Browns 165. So by the time this season is done, Arthur may run away with it. All right, gentlemen, the first topic. Since this weekend and even up till now, NFL free agent frenzy. We've seen Sam Darnold go from the Vikings to the Seahawks. Seahawks also traded Geno Smith to the Raiders. We've seen Justin Fields go to my Jets, and many other deals. C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Texans of other trades. So I got to ask both of you gentlemen, and it doesn't have to be anything that we've mentioned, but which of these free agent deals or trades has been the most impactful or make the biggest difference this upcoming season? Mr. 8 o'clock spot, Mr. Arthur Hurst, we'll start with you.
Myles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns losing Myles Garrett is like you losing that one that got away. Because you have plenty of other guys on that team who are hearts and soul and play a very big impact on the success of the Cleveland Browns. Denzel Ward, Buckeye legend, he's one of them. Nick Chubb, he's another one. But if you lose Myles Garrett to any other team, forget just the defense. That team is not going to be the same, right? Again, he's one of the souls of the team. He's easily the identity of that defense and the identity of that defensive line. The Browns made him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history just to keep him there and to keep him happy. That means that they had to have, besides the money, they had to have said something about a plan or to make him feel comfortable to even stay there, because all the things that he was saying, it just sounded like, you know what, I'm ready to go. I'm 29 years old. I've been here 8 years. 3 times I've had a winning season, right? I've been to 3 playoff games. I'm 1-2 in playoff games. I've had 5 losing seasons, and I'm a 6-time All-Pro Bowler. I'm the all-time Brown sack leader. I've won Defensive Player of the Year in 2023, and I'm constantly in that discussion. I'm consistently one of the top sack leaders in the league, and this is the way you guys are repaying me? Nah, I can't take this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And again, it sounded like he was ready to go. But the Cleveland Browns, along with the money, had to have said something of, look, we have a future. We have a plan. They have to draft a quarterback. Okay, they have no choice but to do that. They need somebody young that is going to be able to lead that offense and lead that team, along with a very great defense led by Myles Garrett. So I believe Myles Garrett staying with Cleveland really impacts them. Is going to bring a whole lot of soul felt back into the city, because if he were to leave, then it's just like, oh, dang, like, well, what does this defense look like? And you already know if he leaves, wherever he goes, he was going to make sure he goes to a contender and be an amazing guy. Aaron Donald, look at him. He retired at 32 years old. Myles Garrett will be 32, 33 by the end of this extension. Could he retire? Could he actually stay in the NFL but go to another team? But these next 4 years all plays on how the Cleveland Browns repay his services.
Okay. Now, I wasn't expecting to hear about a re-sign, but valid points. Barry, out of everything that's happened in the last 72 hours in the NFL, which to you stands out the most?
I think the trade of Deebo Samuel stands out the most for me. The reason being is because you're seeing the rise of one team doing all they can to be able to become a contender and a powerhouse in the NFL as well as the NFC. But you're also seeing, but that was the start of the decline for another team that's been one of our perennial contenders in the San Francisco 49ers. He was the first domino to fall. You've seen all the exodus, all the movements, and all the guys that have left the 49ers in free agency. That team has been scrapped. They're planning to get younger and go for the future. They have 12 draft picks in this draft this year. So I'm sure they're going to go ahead and try to want to replace those guys. But you think about the impact that Deebo Samuel had since he's been with the San Francisco 49ers. He's been their garbage guy, I would say. The lunch pail guy, to be able to run the ball when they need that, to be able to be their Iron Man going across the field, to be consistent in regards to being in the lineup. His body kind of failed him because he had to be that physical guy, whatever gadget player Shanahan needed him to be. So the fact that he's now gone and now that team is no longer a contender as we know them to be now, that's, to me, has been the biggest impact in this free agency period, because you're seeing the rise of one and you're seeing the fall of another. Very quick, short time, and he was the catalyst of that.
Very, very interesting points. You guys are both on the opposite side of the coin here, because Barry, you're mentioning the fall of one franchise just blowing everything up, and that's actually valid, because it seems like since San Francisco paid Brock Purdy, they don't have any more money to keep anybody else.
Well, they ain't pay him yet, but they're gonna pay him soon.
Oh, they're definitely gonna pay him though. However, I gotta give the best take to Mr. Arthur Hurst, because if Cleveland would have lost Myles Garrett, that franchise would be in a far worse shape than it's in now. And I didn't even think that I thought he was gonna talk about something, somebody going elsewhere. A familiar face in a new place, but sticking around is Myles Garrett. He'll be a Cleveland Brown till 2030, and then of course we got Barry with the 3 points running up. All right, the second topic today, very controversial, going to the NBA. We saw on Friday night when the Knicks played the Lakers, LeBron James confronted Stephen A. Smith over his comments about LeBron's son and teammate Bronny James. Stephen A. Smith had to go on video and talk about the experience. So it's safe to say that these two will not be having lunch or dinner together in the near future, if at all. Barry, your take, was LeBron wrong in how he approached Stephen A. Smith?
Of course he wasn't wrong in regards to how he approached Stephen A. Smith. It's so funny how all the stories are coming out now since I'm not going to call him that. Since Stephen A. Smith went on to Gil's Arena and dressed up like Martin in that episode where the fake dog was there. He had the black turtleneck and the chain on. And I'll address this more on my show, but I'm going to get into this too right here on the 8 o'clock spot. Is that he said that he was speaking to LeBron James, because he's not going to talk about Bronny. He's praised Bronny, but he's speaking to LeBron because LeBron praised his kid more than he should have at the time. But let's keep context into play. LeBron James was hyping up his son when his son was healthy before a heart attack. He was hyping him up. He was saying, hey, Bronny can play in the league right now and be better than some of these dudes that's on the bench right now. Post heart attack, this is a different guy. He's learning how to become a basketball player again. You're seeing how he's performing in the G League right now. He's getting his confidence back. So for Stephen A to use that bullshit as a moniker or a marker to be able to go on his show and have this soliloquy and this diatribe about him getting cooked by one of the best young players in the league, then this happened in January. Yeah, LeBron is vindicated and warranted for checking his ass. Because at the end of the day, you can talk about me all you want. You've made millions of dollars off of me. Skip Bayless has made millions of dollars off of my name. Y'all go ahead and I don't say nothing to y'all. But once you start to question my fatherhood in regards to what I'm doing for my son, and I'm trying to help him further along his career, just like everybody on planet Earth would do for their kid, you damn right I'm going to go check you. Because I don't want to speak to you on the phone. I don't want Rich Paul to have us have a conference. I'm going to address you when I want to address you. So, yeah, of course, if this was in another situation, it might have gotten dark. But both guys have high profiles. They're not going to put themselves in harm's way in regards to throwing hands. But you damn right that he had every right to be able to check Stephen A. Smith on site. There's nothing wrong with that. If he didn't do that, then people will be like, "Oh, you're not you have some people in the circles. Oh, you're not defending your son." He defended his son the way he thought he needed to do, and every one of us would do the same thing. I don't care if Bronny's an athlete. I don't care. That's your kid, and you're always gonna stick up for your son. And I don't care what time of the day it is. If you feel that you have to address something, you're gonna address it. Damn the antics and the propaganda behind it. So yeah, he was right.
All right, Arthur. Do you agree or disagree?
No, LeBron was absolutely justified, and I look at this from a different lens than a lot of people because I'm a legacy. I'm Arthur Hurst III, right? I'm not just Arthur Hurst. I'm Arthur Hurst III. So I don't have the name of just my father. I have the name of my grandfather. I look at that from an entirely different lens than a lot of other people would just look at their name. My dad, just from experience and talking to him, not just my dad, my parents have kept me out of situations, not because they don't think that I wouldn't be able to withstand the situation or get through it, but they know that whatever situation that person, that it would involve me with that person would use me as a way to get to them. And they were like, you know what? No, to avoid that BS, we're just going to leave you out of it. And when we believe that it is time and clean enough for you to come into the situation, we'll pull you in. But no, LeBron was absolutely justified because would you rather the approach that he did, would you rather him do that? Or would you rather him do what Joel Embiid to the reporter in Philly, where you bring up Joel Embiid's dead brother and you bring up Joel Embiid's son and use that as think piece and say that, oh, this is the reason why he hasn't been performing the Olympics. He didn't do as good. And this is why the beginning of the season has been in turmoil for him in the Philadelphia 76ers. And that was not the only time, according to Joel Embiid, that specific reporter went at him in a very personal manner. So again, would you rather LeBron be peaceful about it and just say, hey, look, my son is off limits. Don't use my son to talk about my fatherhood. Don't use my son to try to get on a personal level with me. You can do that without bringing up my son. Or would you rather have him do what Joel Embiid said, which is cuss the dude out and shove him, get physical with him, have security needed to hold him back and say, you know what, fuck y'all. Y'all can say whatever y'all want. Y'all can do whatever you want. Forget it. And then he just stormed off. So the peace was kept. That's number one. Number two, this isn't the only time Stephen A has had to be checked, especially in public. Kevin Durant's mama did it with him. Kenny the Jet Smith had to do it with him. And the funny thing about the Kenny the Jet Smith situation, the Kyrie Irving problem with him and Stephen A. Smith, it wasn't even about Kyrie Irving. That had nothing to do with Kyrie, with how personal Stephen A was getting about him, his belief, and his constant attacks on him. That wasn't even about Kyrie Irving anymore. It was about some other BS that Kyrie Irving just ended up being a part of because they're both New York guys and they know the same group of people. The same group of people that mentored and raised and grew up with Stephen A. Smith did the same thing with Kyrie Irving. So Kenny Smith had to be like, yo, our mentors, our people are his. He's family. So you need to cool it off. And Stephen A was like, you know what? You're right. Nick Young talked about his father having to check Stephen A. Smith. But then you also got to look at it. This is something that is typically done. You want to know the difference? Social media. The reason why we know that LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith had a conversation is because there's video, but I'm sure there's plenty of times in the dark ages where players confronted reporters and was like, yo, I don't like what you said. Like that was a little whatever. But there was no social media back then, so we don't know about it. It wasn't as big of a deal. And also you got to look at the fact that pick numbers 1 through 54 and after 55 aren't talked about a whole lot. Instead, it's the 55th pick, and it just so happens that it's LeBron James Jr. being talked about. That's some BS.
Well, I'm going to have to give this round to you, Arthur, because I think you hit the nail on the head that it's a bit more personal when you're a legacy. As you said, of course, Bronny's real government name is LeBron Raymond James Jr. So, that does make a difference. And I do agree, LeBron as the father there. He's not doing it to be a bully. His parenthood was questioned. So I know a lot of other parents would agree with that. All right, moving along. We're going to Major League Baseball. Perhaps the greatest pitcher to play baseball in this current era, Gerrit Cole, had Tommy John surgery today. Gonna miss all of this year and maybe about the first 2 or 3 months next year. If you are a Yankee fan, are you worried even though the season hasn't started yet? I'll start with you, Barry.
You really want to start with me?
Yes.
Okay. You think I care about what Yankee fans think? The part about this that makes me laugh is that karma is everything, right? So we have to keep things in context. Is that when Juan Soto signed with the Mets, Yankee fans all over the place said that we had damaged goods, that he was a terrible player, and all of this stuff. Then they said that we had a bad lineup. Then they said we had a terrible pitching staff. Oh, I have the tides turned. Oh, the fact that they have so many injuries on their starting lineup now, their starting rotation. Oh, what will they do? They damn right should be worried, because at the end of the day, they put all of this money into their starting pitching, and they have a lot more holes to fill. They still have problems on that starting pitching staff. They still have problems in that batting lineup. They have no DH now. They still don't have a third baseman. Yankee fans should be very concerned because you're paying Gerrit Cole a very, very big amount of money. And yes, he's 35 years old, but you're going to miss that for the next 16 months possibly. Right? So how are you going to replace that? Who's going to be the number one ace on this team now? You have Max Fried, okay, but has Max Fried ever pitched in New York? There's the difference. Gerrit Cole has. So he's always pitched in small markets in regards to Max Fried. So we'll see exactly how he handles the New York stage. They're in big trouble. But the problem is that they're not going to sink as far as many think they will, because the AL in itself, the AL East is a little competitive, but the American League on a whole is not. So it's time to panic, but at the same time, they're not gonna completely sink and be in the toilet. They're not gonna be a fourth place team. We know that. This is the Yankees. But at the end of the day, have their World Series chances taken a big hit?
I believe we have lost Barry. He's frozen. Give him a couple of seconds. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm done.
All right. Arthur, Yankee fans, should they press the panic button, or should they wait and see what happens?
Hey, number one, that freeze frame, that was nasty work. Your internet did not do you justice there, boss. But hey, listen, look, it's so funny about panic buttons, right? The panic buttons are very, very funny to me. Like, why are we talking about a panic button before the season actually starts, dog? We're in the spring, right? So give it some time. That's the thing that fans really don't like in sports. It's time. They want the now. And we see that with a lot of things. We see that in everyday life, right? But in sports, especially, you need to give things time. Give it time to work. Give it time to gel. Give teams time and rosters time to figure some things out. So should Yankees fans hit the panic button? No. Does this hurt them? Absolutely. Luis Gil, Barry already talked about it a little bit, but just to rehash it. Luis Gil, reigning AL Rookie of the Year. He's expected to be out 3 months. Giancarlo Stanton is out with torn tendons in both his elbows. Now they do have options. Sandy Alcantara, he's looked really dominant so far in the spring, coming back from Tommy John surgery for the Miami Marlins. Dylan Cease or Michael King from the Padres. Now the consensus is right now the Padres are sticking with the both of them, but you never know. The right price, one of them might be gone, and it might be Michael King. But if I were to look at Sandy Alcantara, that would be perfect. Why? Because you are literally coming back from the injury that my star picture is going into. Who would be better to be in the building for my guy than the dude who literally just got out of that situation? So I think that would be perfect as a morale booster for Garrett Cole, because it's a thing of, oh, look, Sandy Alcantara here, he in my ear, he talking, he's supporting, and all these things. And not only that, the team looks like they're not missing a beat. The team is playing very, very well, and the team is rounding around all of this really around, they're rounding around this bad thing, but it's really turning into a good thing. And I'm going to come back stronger, and I'm going to come back better next year. Add in the fact that the Yankees currently have insurance with the way Garrett Cole's contract is set up. So for the time that he is out, they'll be able to recoup some of that money. So again, you'll be able to pay guys. You'll be able to go get somebody. It looks grim now, but give this team some time and a chance before you hit the panic button. I believe, like Barry, they'll be just fine. This is the Yankees we're talking about. They want to be more than competitive. They want to be put into a winning situation. They have options. Again, this hurts, but they'll be just fine.
Two compelling arguments, but I'm going to go ahead and give the round to Barry. Reason being is because it's not like they lost a really good player. They lost the ace of their staff, compounded on top of all the other injuries. That was the one I feel like they absolutely couldn't afford, and it's not only going to affect him this year, it's going to affect him the start of next year too. And he's old; he's a bit older than the rest of the staff, so that really. Tommy John is already hard enough to come back with, but when you're in your mid-30s, it's even harder.
There's only one guy that's ever come back from Tommy John after that age, and that was Justin Verlander, and he won a Cy Young in the year after. So
yep, so that's rough. Also, I got to disagree with you, Arthur. I wouldn't go out and get Alcantara because he and Miami's front office, they're arguing over whether he should be on a pitch count or not, because yeah, he did come back from the same injury, but you can't put a guy who just came off of Tommy John on such a big workload and expect him to carry his staff either. But we'll see what happens. But I gotta agree with Barry on that one. Our final regular round topic: the good folks at TKO. For those of you who don't know, TKO is the parent company, the umbrella company that owns both the WWE and the UFC. And now they are forming their own boxing promotion. Of course, for those of you who follow boxing, we have the WBO, the WBC, and all these different organizations. The big question is, does boxing need another organization and another governing body? And will it hurt the sport or have no effect? Arthur, I'll start with you first.
I trust Dana White. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say on this. I trust Dana White to do what he has done with the UFC and how great it is. I mean, think about it. UFC, if we really, really think, it's a lot more popular. People love it a whole lot more. yes, the money is still there in boxing, but dude, like we just saw this past weekend, we just saw Alex Pereira get beat, right? And that was everybody was like, dang, like that's a shocker. How did that happen? But then we also see the weekend before, right? We see the Tank fight, we see it ending a draw. And then we're like, oh snap, this guy that nobody the casual fan did not know, he ended up going the entire time with Tank Davis. It's like, wait, how did Lamont Roach Jr. do that, right? But I trust Dana White to do what he needs to do. Again, he did it with the UFC. The WWE is already one of the biggest promotions, and everybody still loves it to this day. I trust Dana White to get into that office and promote this the way that he needs to be promoted. I trust him to pay boxers what they should be paid and what they need to be paid. I trust Dana White to put on the fights that everybody really wants to see, not when the boxers are ready and they're at that stage in this career. No, we want to see those fights, man. We want to see the two juggernauts of the sport go at it. So I believe he will put on the fights. I believe he will help the pay increase. I believe it will be expanded internationally a lot more than it already is. Television deals and broadcasting, that's another big one. A lot of mainstream growth. So now you're not having your casual fans. You're having a whole lot of people that really know the sport and love it and are willing to talk about it, right? So I see him bringing, and even though he doesn't own the UFC anymore, right? Endeavor, they don't own it anymore. But I believe that Dana White, with him being the face and how much people see him and his success that he had since he was at the UFC, and we know the success that the WWE has had ever since the beginning, and now with this new generation that's coming in, I believe this boxing promotion will be very, very big for boxing. I believe a lot of people will enjoy it. I believe a lot of people I think the consumer and the people boxing will benefit from all this. So I believe in this way, all parties win. But that's because I trust Dana White and his brain and his visionary and just how he conducts business.
All right, Barry, this TKO boxing promotion, you with it or you're not buying it?
I'm always open to competition. I mean, you seen what happened in regards to when the PGA and Live Golf came along, and PGA did not like what was going on with Live Golf. All the golfers were going over there. They were making big money with the Live Golf. There was, and then after a while, what ended up happening? There was a merging of both companies, right? Competition breeds better product for the consumer. So if there's competition there, now the big fish, the WBC, the WBO, the IBF, all of these other organizations can go ahead and look at themselves and say, okay, do we actually need these particular stipulations that we have for our champions? Do we need this particular ranking system? Maybe we can be able to change these things so we can be able to promote more super fights and get to these things a lot quicker. So yeah, it's going to be a good thing because you're giving a chance for both places to do things a little differently. And if people love boxing, they can be able to digest a different brand of boxing than they normally have been seeing. Plus, boxing has been a sport that has been on the decline in regards to popularity and interest over the past 25 years, right? Boxing used to be at its apex back in the 90s and 80s, obviously, right? But now there's a space or an opportunity for somebody else to come in there and kind of take it back to what we used to love growing up watching the sport. So that can be good for the sport as well, to be able to just have more eyes, have more opportunities for guys to be able to earn bigger contracts, have more super fights, like how Arthur was saying. So yeah, it's going to be a good thing. Competition is always a good thing. When you have a monopoly at something, you get lazy and you tend to not have the best product available because you don't have to, because you're the only game in town. So competition is always going to be a good thing.
Okay, and we got a comment here before we move on. Clint Alexander says Justin Fields and Aaron Glenn going to lead the Jets to the playoffs. Let's go Jets. I don't know about all that, but thanks for the comment. But
give him time. Please give Justin Fields and Aaron Glenn time.
I will give him no time, but thank you.
Give him time, Barry.
Unfortunately, I will be on the sidelines every home game to witness just how much time they may or may not need.
My condolences, Alfred.
Thank you. But I'm gonna have to. This one was rough. This one was really rough. But I'm gonna have to give the round to Arthur, only because when you look at the minds behind TKO, Dana White took UFC because UFC when it first started, up until he bought it, UFC was bleeding money, and then Dana White bought it and made it the phenomenon that it is. And of course, the folks at WWE, I don't think WWE's taken a profit loss since the mid '90s. So I can't argue with the track record of the people that are going to run this thing. Barry, you bring up some good points as well, but I don't know about competition because there's all these different acronyms that run boxing, and they all compete with each other. And like you said, the sport's still been in decline the last 25 years. So
yeah, but Alfred, it's under the same umbrella is what I'm saying. You have a brand new organization. You're going to take away eyes from those old school organizations, which means that it's competition. It's competition from the old guard. It's going to breed more eyes to the sport, bro. But hey, you're the guy who puts the points together. I don't care.
Sound like somebody got a little extra salt in their diet, but
no. I'm just saying that I have to bring context to it. If you're not aware, some people are not big boxing fans. I am, so
I am as well. But
then you should know that.
You want me to just give the game to Arthur, don't you?
Listen, I am Marshawn Lynch. I am just here so I don't get fined.
But we got another comment coming in. Clinton Alexander finds this funny, very funny. But going into our final round rules, best take 10 points, and there's only points awarded to the best take. Whoever wins this round will be the winner of this week's 8 o'clock spot. Our bonus topic this week: you're going to a sporting event in a major arena. You're hungry. What is the one concession that every fan should try in a stadium? I'll start with you, Barry.
So you're at the concession place. You're there. You're looking around, and you're saying that this needs to be a universal meal that everybody should at least try one time if they're going to an event. Correct? A sporting event.
Correct.
I would say it has to be, man. I'm gonna just throw this out there because I don't, but I have something to say. I gotta set it up though. I think that the dish that you should be able to consume is popcorn. Everybody has popcorn at the concession stand. Like, that's just universal. Right? The one thing that you should never consume at a sporting event, and I don't care where you go, but if you do this, you might be on the violations list. We don't eat glizzies here. So all I'm saying is that you better not ever have a hot dog in your hand, walk into some place and walk into your seat. You better not be single with a hot dog in your hand, walking with a hot dog in your hand, thinking that it's okay. That is violation. Okay, you better not be the dude that got the straw that puts inside of the glizzy and uses the straw to drink up his juice. You don't do that. You don't have the kissing camera with your girlfriend and y'all passing glizzies back and forth to each other. You don't do that. So popcorn is supposed to be the thing that people consume universally. Hot dogs, glizzies, whatever you want to call it, should be banned from arenas and banned from ballparks all across America. That's all I'm saying.
Before we get to Arthur, I just got to ask you, who in the world have you ever seen put a straw in a hot dog?
Oh, I'll send you the video. It was a Yankee fan, too.
He was white.
Yeah, he was white. Wow. Arthur knows what I'm talking about. Yeah? He knows what I'm talking about. And he enjoyed every bit of it, too. After he sipped the drink, he took a bite of the glizzy. Violation. So that's why I'm saying ban it. Ban it from ballparks, ban it from arenas.
All right, Arthur. Go-to concession at a sporting event.
Man, I love me a good popcorn, man. I love me a good buttery salted popcorn. But there's just something about nachos, man. Nachos, cheese with some jalapenos, and if they got some sauce, some red sauce, so you're talking about savory, crunchy, cheesy, salty, and hold on a second, it doesn't fill you up quick, right? Popcorn gives you like that. When you eat too much of it, it's real salty, gets to your heart, and you start burning a little bit, and then you're not able to really enjoy yourself. Hot dogs, you get full off of possibly real quick, and your stuff. Now you're sleepy, you're drowsy. Nachos, you can go back and forth countless times. Hang on, don't and have a beverage with you. Cool, have a beverage with you also. But I'll take these nachos. I'll have me a water. I'll be healthy. I'll have me a water. And I can go back and forth between the concession stand and my seat all game long for some daggone nachos. Just add some jalapenos. Make sure it's real cheesy. I want the cheesy smooth. It better not be hard. You don't need to be constantly stirring that thing back there in the kitchen. Make it at least look a little fresh, even though I know it isn't. Make sure you have some nacho red sauce with it as well. And I'm good, baby. Nachos all day long.
All right, let's get to the comments. Clint Alexander votes for the glizzy. And he also voted for premio sausage and peppers. And then he says that my face looks disappointed because he thinks I prefer the glizzy.
Oh, wait, listen, Clint, we know you know why I brought it up. So that's why you laughing. I don't want to say no names. I'm not gonna do that. So we just gonna keep it on pause right now. That's all I'm gonna do.
I'm happy we y'all locked in.
Romy is the best, says he calls me the Glizster. Okay. Well, I got it. And another comment just trickled in. And of course, Clint's laughing over here again. Anyway, I got to pick a winner. And only because you did more than answer the question, Barry. You answered the opposite question, and there's no points for extracurriculars. So I'm giving it to Mr. Arthur Hurst, the winner this week, who didn't have to insult another food to drive the point home. So, Arthur, you may have the floor for your victory speech, sir.
Man, it's been a minute. It's happy to be back on top. Gotta be a lot more consistent. I'm always happy to go against Barry and stuff like that. It's always fun. The dope thing about this show, and with it allowing me being able to grow and stuff like that, like I never thought of the PGA and Live merger. I never thought about that. I never thought about that being an idea, right? So being able to hear different points of view and being able to see like there's another mile that you can go with this shit, right? Don't just stick with what's right there in the question. Look at other sports, look at what everything else is doing, and go from there.
Yeah, no, don't bash the other foods that just because you don't like it doesn't mean somebody else has to not like it. You know what? If you're going to Citi Field a couple of times, Barry, I better not see you with a hot dog in your hand, sir.
Oh, don't worry, you won't, because there's plenty of other stuff to eat. I don't have to wait on a line for 40 minutes and wait for a glizzy. Listen, I know you love them, but you got to relax this season. If you come into the game with me, that's not happening. I'm not going to sit in the chair next to you with a glizzy in your hand and then they catch me on camera talking to you and you biting one of those. It's not happening. All right? So we're going to have to do something different this time around. Whoever I got to speak to, we're going to get it right because no more. We are banning those. And if I was president of the United States, I would sign an executive order to get all of those out of arenas and ballparks. I would. It's a violation.
It's a hot dog, not a glizzy.
It's a violation. Okay.
Well, folks, this has been another 8 o'clock spot. Congratulations again to our winner, Mr. Arthur Hurst. And only God knows when Bryson Carver is coming back, but I'll see you next week.
We don't care about Bryson no more. We good. We moving on.
Speak for yourself.